Alright, welcome back to WMMA Now with your host Chuck Stevenson. And tonight I want to talk a little bit about something called the Invicta FC Pedigree. A couple weeks ago when Victoria Leonardo won on the Dana White's Contender Series, beat Chelsea Hackett, in her post-fight interview she talked about, I'm an Invicta fighter, I have that pedigree. And, it really got me thinking, she's right. The Invicta pedigree really is something that speaks a lot about the fighter that, is in possession of it. If a fighter is coming out of Invicta and they've, really, cut their teeth, as the saying goes, in Invicta, it says a lot about those fighters, even sight unseen. Victoria Leonardo, she came into that fight on 2 weeks' notice against Chelsea Hackett. Hackett had been preparing for that fight since March, I believe. She got the call-up, went through several opponent changes, date change, and everything. Victoria Leonardo came in there on like 2 weeks' notice, made weight, and won the fight with a second-round finish as an underdog. So that speaks a lot to that Invicta pedigree that she mentioned. And I wanted to, really go into just what this pedigree means. So I made up this little spreadsheet here just talking about, comparing Invicta fighters and the Contender Series. So if you look at this, out of 42 female fighters that have fought on the Dana White Contender Series, 4 have come from Invicta. Now, 3 of those fighters have won out of those 4. And one of those fighters honestly got robbed. Tanisha Tennant, by all rights, should have won that decision. Everybody that wasn't a judge for that fight thinks that Tanisha Tennant should have won. So really, they should be 4-4-4. Now, out of the 3 fighters who won from Invicta on the Contender Series, 2 got signed. Mallory Martin did not get signed. She went back, I think, fought for Invicta one more time before getting called up to the UFC. So out of 42 fighters total for Dana White's Contender Series, only 4 have come from Invicta. So you're probably thinking, well, what exactly is the point of this number? Listen, I'm here to tell you that Invicta fighters generally, as a rule, they don't need something like the Contender Series, okay? The pedigree of an Invicta fighter speaks for itself. Okay, I made a list going down the roster earlier tonight of a bunch of fighters from Invicta that are currently on the UFC roster. I think it numbers like over 20, just going down the list right away. And look, here's just an example of this list of fighters that I came up with that are currently from the UFC that have the Invicta pedigree. Carla Esparza, Felicia Spencer, Livia Souza, Brianna Van Buren, Verna Jandiroba, Jennifer Maia, Michelle Watterson, Lauren Murphy, Jin Fry, Yana Kunitskaya, Kanako Murata, Megan Anderson, and Angela Hill. Now, what do those 13 fighters all have in common besides having fought a number of times and possessing a strong pedigree from Invicta FC? They're all former Invicta champions. That's 13 former champions from Invicta that are currently in the UFC. So what does that tell you? Invicta champions are strong contenders when they get signed to the UFC. I mean, even Angela Hill, she got cut from the UFC, went back down to Invicta, fought a number of times for them, won the championship, defended it once, then got called back up to the UFC because the UFC saw, oh, Angela is ready to come back and fight in the UFC. And you know what? She's put on a lot of very good fights. She's been very competitive even in her losses. So 13 former champions currently fighting in the UFC. Now, what makes that pedigree so strong? Well, my theory is this. Unlike a lot of other promotions that basically they'll have the occasional ladies fight, like, for example, LFA, Titan, Pancrase, who else is on Fight Pass right now? CES, CFFC. You know, those promotions, they mostly tend to focus on singular fighters out of the ladies and tend to build those fighters up a fight at a time. Whereas with Invicta, they're an all women's promotion. So Shannon Knapp is focused on building up the divisions as a whole and making them stronger. So with Invicta, you're going to have a lot more examples of, stronger fighter fighting against stronger fighter, whereas in the other promotions, they're going to be focusing on building up single fighters, and a lot of times they baby them up until they fight for that championship. And then even sometimes after they win the championship, if they are a promotional favorite, they'll still continue babying them. Whereas in Invicta, you're going to have a lot more occasions where iron is going to sharpen iron. A fighter is going to fight against a fighter on the same level, if not stronger, in order to build them up. Because Shannon Knapp and company over at Invicta FC, they have to build up entire divisions, and they have to make sure that those divisions have strength. So that way, even if the UFC, comes calling and plucks a fighter from them, guess what? They still have a whole division worth of fighters. So if, let's say, Brianna Van Buren won the Phoenix Rising 1 tournament, won the championship, UFC called her up right away on short notice to win. Guess what? Invicta still had a strawweight division to build up other fighters off of and work towards a new champion. Or, for example, Werner Jandiroba got a call up for late notice in the UFC. Guess what? Invicta was able to keep going. For any other promotion, if they pluck up a champion, now they've got to try to build up a fighter out of nowhere. They've got to build up a whole new fighter in order to crown a new champion if they choose to do so. Whereas Invicta, they can hold a fight for a vacant title right away, and it's going to be a good fight. Why? Because Invicta is focusing on building the divisions as a whole, which means that they produce stronger fighters, and they have that pedigree ready for when UFC comes calling, boom. Or not even necessarily UFC. It could be Ryzen, it could be Bellator. If Bellator doesn't sign too many Invicta fighters, but when they do, if they sign one, they know they're going to be strong. They're going to have that Invicta FC pedigree backing them up. And that's why the UFC tends to pull fighters straight from Invicta rather than trying to prove themselves on the Contender series. For example, just this past season, Vanessa Demopoulos came in as the LFA champion and fought on the Contender series. When was the last? You're not going to see an Invicta champion fighting on a Contender series. The UFC knows that that belt title means something from Invicta more than it does from other promotions, and they already know that an Invicta champion is going to have a stronger pedigree than a fighter from elsewhere. So this was just a little thing I wanted to talk about, the strength of the Invicta pedigree. Now, Invicta isn't the only all-women's mixed martial arts promotion out there. There is Deep Jewels as well, but Deep Jewels just has not been able to, keep that sustainability and grow as many of the divisions overall as the UFC has. For example, Deep Jewels has the strawweight and atomweight that they mostly focus on. They'll occasionally have a flyweight bout, but for the most part, they can only focus on atomweight and try to focus a little bit on strawweight. Whereas Invicta focuses on every women's division and focuses on building up all of them and keeping them strong. So that's, I just want to talk about a little bit about what the strength of that Invicta pedigree means. It means that when a larger promotion comes calling, they can take a fighter from Invicta, sign them up, and know that they've got a strong fighter right out of the bat who's going to come up and show good things for them. Anyway, that's really what I want to talk about. I didn't want to make this video too long. Just want to really emphasize that a fighter with that Invicta pedigree means that they've got, a good build-up behind them. They've got the strength behind them knowing that they fought other good fighters along their way and they weren't just picking cherry picks the whole way because the promotion decided to build them up and favor them. So anyway, let me know your thoughts on the Invicta Pedigree in the comments down below. Now, if you like the video, please give it a like. I appreciate it. And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to WMMA Scene Now, the most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.